The Bookstack Coffee Chat. I'm so glad to have you here today to be with you. This is November 11th. So here in the United States, we are celebrating Veterans Day. And today's going to be a short Bookstack Coffee Chat, unless you all chime in the chat, which I would love, because I'd love to have a conversation and we could talk for the full 15 20 minutes. But otherwise, it's going to be a short one because I wasn't able to really find a book this week. Now, if I had thought in advance like I should have, I could have, I'm sure, found many books, but I wasn't able to discover this week a book that honored veterans that also met my criteria of a clean read, right? And so because I wasn't able to read a book and share that with you today, I just wanted to share a few thoughts because, this Bookstack Coffee Chat is all about books, life, and faith. So I thought we'd talk about the life and faith aspect today and just wanted to honor all of those veterans out there. This is the day set aside to thank all of our retired military service members. They're veterans, right? That's why it's called Veterans Day. And it's different and distinct from Memorial Day because Memorial Day is to honor those military service members who have died, right? So there's a distinct difference between the two, right? Veterans Day is for those who are still alive. Memorial Day is for those who have passed away. And a lot of the books that I was coming across obviously were especially since I'm interested in World War II, a lot of those military service men and women have passed away. And so I wanted to honor our current and existing members. And I know so many of them within my community and my church. And I just want to extend a heartfelt thank you to each of you for your service and your sacrifice. That was part of the title of today's book stack, is about sacrifice, because, for me and many of us, we might think it's a sacrifice to have to give up that second cup of coffee every day, right? Or, oh, we sacrificed, buying a new car. We got a used car, all those little things that really and truly aren't sacrifices. I actually went and looked up the definition of sacrifice because even though we tend to maybe have an idea, a general understanding of what a word means, it's always sometimes good to look it up and see what the actual definition is. And it says, according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, the noun sacrifice, when used as a noun, is the act of giving up something that you want to keep, especially in order to get or do something else or to help someone. So whenever I give up my second cup of coffee, that's not really helping anyone, right? But when you serve in the military, you're helping the entire country and oftentimes our allies in other parts of the world. Also, sacrifice as a verb is to suffer loss, give up, renounce, injure, or destroy, especially for an ideal, belief, or end. So there's a lot more to the real meaning of sacrifice than just a flippant, I'll just do this instead of that, right? There's much more meaning to it. I've always, having not served in the military, I can't really relate to what any of you veterans have gone through. And I know for many of you, you don't want us to, right? That's why you serve, is to protect your family and friends at home and the country as a whole. And yet, because I haven't served, there is this curiosity, right? To understand, to be able to empathize more with what you've experienced. And yet so many times, understandably, especially those of you who have served in hot zones, you don't want to go back there. You don't want to relive over and over again, telling people the stories. So many times veterans are that way. And so many stories and experiences are lost because they just can't or don't want to share, which I understand that. But there's still that curiosity within me, right? And then also there are some veterans who maybe feel guilty because they didn't serve in the hot zone. They didn't serve in active combat, right? I'm thinking specifically of some of my previous clients, of people that have helped them write their autobiographies. There was one who, sorted mail on the Philippines, and he, on the base on the Philippines, he didn't go out and actively in active combat. And then there was another one who had arrived in Japan just a month or two after the war ended. And so he was there for reparation efforts, and not during the war. And another one of my clients, he was waiting to board a ship in California to go to the Pacific when his orders changed because the war ended. So, a lot of times they mentioned, they didn't outright say that they felt guilty, but you could tell in the way that they addressed the issue that they felt somehow less than because they didn't serve in active combat. But I want all veterans, regardless of where you served, how long you served, and what capacity you served, that you make a huge difference to our country. And I am just so thankful for all that you've done, because you do sacrifice. You sacrifice time with family, and you miss celebrations with them and different things that we take for granted. So I want to thank you for that. The other thing that I wanted to mention too today in thanking our veterans, was we also ought to remember the ultimate sacrifice, right? I always try to tie things back to Scripture and the Bible, the best book ever. And, remember that whatever battle we're going through, whether it's an actual war with another country or it's a personal battle that we are struggling with, remember to take it to the Lord. The battle is the Lord's. It says that in Scripture. And we can rest and rely on Jesus, who sacrificed himself for us, right? He gave up everything and took on all sin of the world. I mean, talk about suffering. And he did all of that out of love for us. And not only did he, suffer and he died, but he rose again. That is where the hope is, right? That, we have hope of eternal salvation because he defeated death. And so because he's defeated death, we can rest in him no matter what situation we're in. We know that he is there for us and can see us through. So I just hope that that's encouraging. I wanted to, again, thank you, all you veterans, men and women, whatever time and whatever branch of the military you've served in, including the National Guard. My dad was a National Guardsman. And I just thank you all from the very bottom of my heart. And before we go, I just wanted to remind everyone that if you are a fan of World War II fiction, the Bookstack book club is reading Chasing Shadows by Lynn Austin this month in November. So the end of the month, we are going to be discussing this. So it's not too late to pick up your copy at your local library. You can get the ebook, the audiobook, order a copy, buy it at your local bookstore. However you prefer to read, wherever you prefer to buy your books, I encourage you to check that out. Lynn Austin is an excellent author, and I am looking forward to reading this book and discussing it with you. I will put in the comments below the link to sign up for the book club so you can know we will be meeting via Zoom. It's virtual, so anyone, anywhere can join us. I hope you do. And so also, whenever you're watching this, if you're watching us on the replay, let me know who your veterans are and give them a shout out. Tag them in the comments and thank them for their service. And thank you for watching another episode of the Bookstack Coffee Chat. And I will see you next week. Have a blessed day.